Okay, 6p is less than negative 24. On this one, I gotta be able to write here, we're going to, 6p is less than negative 24. When I solve this one, I want to get the p by itself, so I gotta get rid of the 6. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to divide both sides by 6. Now, because I'm dividing by a positive 6, I don't have to flip the sign. It doesn't matter that it's a negative 24 over here. What really matters is what I'm multiplying or dividing by. So because on this one I'm dividing by a positive 6, I don't have to flip the sign will stay the same. So on this one we're going to end up with p is less than negative 4, because 24 divided by 6 is 4, but negative divided by positive is a negative, so we get p is less than 4. I don't have to flip the sign on this one. Okay, then we're supposed to write out in words what the solution set is. So I would say numbers less than negative 4. That's my solution set. Numbers less than negative 4 is my solution set. I've got to check this one. So when we check it, we're going to check two different numbers. And since I've got negative 4 here, it's best to check with a negative 4. So choose the number that shows up here as one of your check numbers. And then I'm just going to pick 0 to make my life easy. So 0 is a nice number to check with. All right, now if I put negative 4 in here, negative 4 is less than negative 4. That is a false statement. That is not true. Negative 4 is not less than negative 4. Also, when p is equal to 0, I get 0 is less than negative 4. That is also a false statement. That is not true. 0 is not less than negative 4. It's bigger than negative 4. So when I plug these numbers into my original equation, I should get false on both of them. So let's see, 6p, 6 times negative 4 is less than negative 24. 6 times negative 4 gives me negative 24 is less than negative 24. That is false. That is not true. And that's good, because if the top one's false and the bottom one's false, it checks out. I'm happy when those two match. The other number, when p is equal to 0, I get 6 times 0 is less than negative 24. Anything times 0 is 0, so I get 0 is less than negative 24. That is also false. 0 is not less than negative 24. It's larger. So if I have false here and false here, it checks out. So my numbers worked on that one. I'm happy with it. So always check your inequalities with two numbers. One of your numbers should be the number like in the inequality down here. All right, moving on. We've got negative 9 is less than or equal to x divided by 5. How do you get rid of divided by 5? You multiply both sides by 5. Now, it doesn't matter that this is a negative number over here. I'm multiplying by a positive number. If I'm multiplying by a positive number, then my sign is not going to flip. So these 5s are going to cancel each other out, and we're going to be left with negative 45 is less than or equal to x. But I don't have to flip the sign because I'm multiplying by a positive. It's only when you multiply or divide by a negative do you flip the sign. Okay, so now I have to write out my solution set, which would just be numbers greater than or equal to negative 45, right? So numbers greater than or equal to negative 45 is my solution set. All right, now I'm going to check my answer just to make sure it works out. Let's see. To check it, I've got negative 45 here, so I'm going to try x is equal to negative 45, which if I put negative 45 in here, negative 45 is equal to negative 45, so that would make this a true statement. And then I'm just going to choose 0 again. Let's plug 0 in and see what happens. 0 is greater than or equal to negative 45. That is false. That is not true. 0 is less, well, that's wrong. That's true. Math is hard for me sometimes. So 0 is greater than negative 45. Okay, so now when I plug these numbers into the original equation, so we have negative 9 is less than or equal to negative 45 over just positive 5. That gives me negative 9 is less than or equal to negative 9. That is a true statement, and that's good because I've got true here and true here. That one checks out. Over here with 0, I get negative 45 is less than or equal to, no, screwed up. I didn't go to the original problem. Going back to the original problem. Negative 9 is less than or equal to 0 divided by 5. 0 divided by 5 is 0, so I get negative 9 is less than or equal to 0. That is a true statement. 0 is greater than -9. So if these two match up, then it checks out. I did a good thing. I solved this correctly. All right, moving on to the bottom here. So these two, we're just taking the same thing, and we're making it slightly more complicated by adding that you have to simplify it. So you just have to simplify the two sides of the equation before you solve it. So the first one, let's see, 23 minus 35, I can just do that before I solve this one. So 23 minus 35 is -12. 5x minus 8x is -3x. All right, so I just simplified. If you don't know how to simplify, ask me, I can help you out. But now I want to get x by itself, so I say, well, what's the opposite of multiplying by -3? I got to divide both sides by -3. If I divide by a negative number, I've got to flip this sign though. All right, so anytime you multiply or divide by a negative number, flip the sign. So this becomes 4, negative divided by negative is a positive, is greater than or equal to, because I flip the sign, and then the 3's cancel each other out, I'm left with just an x. So 4 is greater than or equal to x. It says to graph the solution set. So we're just going to draw a number line. I'm going to put 4 in the center, 5, 6, 3, 2. Now the number is greater than or equal to. If it's equal to, we get a solid dot. So if it's equal to, we get a solid dot. And the numbers are, or x is less than that. So I've got to go to the left. So 4 is greater than x. So x has to be less than 4. And then it says to check to justify your answer. You know how to check. I'm not going to do that here because I don't want to take the time or waste the paper right now. But to check it, we would choose two numbers. I would probably use 4 and 0. I'm going to check it to see if it works out. Yeah, make sure you do that. If it says to check, make sure you check it. But I'm going to actually skip it on this one because I'm the teacher and I can do that. All right, over on the right-hand side, we've got to just simplify this one before we solve it. So first off, I'm going to take care of this absolute value. I'm going to make this x over -6, because the absolute value of -6 is 6, but the other negative comes down, is greater than 12 plus, here I've got the absolute value of -6, which is a +6, which makes this x divided by -6 is greater than 18. All right, so that's just simplifying. That's like going back to the beginning of chapter 2, easy peasy. Now we're getting into chapter 3. What's the opposite of divided by -6? We're going to multiply both sides times -6. And these 6's are going to cancel each other out. And we're left with x is greater than 18 times -6. That's an ugly number. Positive times negative is going to be a negative. And 18 times 6. I got to do that one off to the side. I can't do that in my head. 8 times 6 is 48. Carry the 4. 6 times 1 is 6. Plus 4 is 10, so I get 108, and positive times negative is a negative, so x is greater than -108. If I was going to do this on a number line, let me change color. To do this on a number line, I've got -108 in the center here, which means I've got -109, -110 to the left. To the right, I've got -107, -106. It's greater than, no equals, so that's going to be an open circle, right? If it's greater than or less than, open circle. If it has an equals, then it's colored in. And it looks like x is greater than that. Numbers that are greater go to the right. So I've got 108 with an open circle going to the right. And then we should check our answers. Honestly, checking our answers, this is going to be a little bit hard because it's such big numbers. But make sure if your instructions say to check, you're checking your answers. All right, let me know if you have any questions.